Hi, Chuck Brewer, Director of Operations for Concrete Technologies. Today we're very excited to introduce our new powdered pigments. These powdered pigments are an alternative to our 190 colorants for our 105 grout. So when you're doing a Hallmark system, skim coat, spray coat, acrylic stain texture, stone trowel, these new powdered pigments are made to replace our 190s. All right guys, Ryan and I are fixing to mix up our powdered pigments into our 105 grout. But the difference between the powdered pigments and the 190, we are going to pour the powdered pigments into the 6 quarts of modifier that we're mixing up for skim coating. We're going to blend it very well with a Jiffy mixer and then add our grout. All right guys, Ryan's pouring the 6 quarts of modifier into the 5-gallon pail that we're going to add our grout to. But again, we're going to blend up the powdered pigment into the modifier prior to adding the grout. And we'll spend a minute or two blending up this powder just to make sure it's thoroughly diluted into the modifier. One of the things I wanted to mention to you guys is it's 1 bag of the powdered pigment to 1 bag of grout, which makes it very simple. Rather than 1/4 of a cup of our old liquid, we're just going to put 1 bag to 1 bag. It makes the mix ratios very simple. All right guys, just real simple. Dump your powdered pigment into your modifier. Guys, as you can see, Ryan's been mixing this up for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. We want to make sure that all the pigments are completely blended into that modifier before we add the grout. All right, something I want to talk to you guys about when you're using the powdered pigments. We're putting down a white skim coat. So if we're using the powdered pigments for skimming, we're only going to use the powdered pigments. I don't want to use half the skim coat in a 190 liquid pigment and then switch up in the middle and go to a powdered pigment. I want to keep it consistent. So you can use one or the other. Now you can spray over the top of skim coat with a powdered pigment and then use the liquid pigments to spray with, or vice versa. You just don't want to commingle the two with one application or the other. All right, so we're gonna spray the one side of the slab, which was the right side that I was talking about. We taped out in a random stone. We're gonna spray it with sandstone. This is our new sandstone powdered pigment. Again, we're gonna mix the powdered pigment into the modifier that Ryan's put in the bucket for 2 to 3 minutes to make sure it's thoroughly blended before we add the grout and mix it. All right, guys, we're just wrapping up our second spray coat. We're gonna let it dry and put our highlights on. All right, so we mixed up the chocolate and the desert beige for highlights. We're reusing the white that we had mixed up that we skim coated with, so it's gonna be our third highlight. So we're gonna go white, desert beige, and chocolate over a sandstone. And again, all with our powdered pigments. Today we're putting on 2 coats of our solvent-based 160. You guys can use any of our solvent-based sealers from 150, 155, 160, or 165 over the top of this.